this. Yeah, that's what's up. Guys, hey, I'm David Radney. I believe in starting on time, so I know we're expecting more people. However, I want to be respectful of your time and being here, so I just want to go ahead and get started. I'm not like most instructors that will come out and speak with you. I don't stand up at a podium and talk down to you about scripts. To me, it's important to just sit down, have what I call a conversation about scripts, and talk to you guys about scripts and why they are important. And so before I go into who I am, I just wanted to get a quick read of the room. And maybe we can do this on Zoom as well. On the scale of 0 to 10, 0 being, I don't know anything about scripts, and 10 being, I am a script master when it comes to knowing my scripts. Where would you rate yourself? Where would you rate yourself? Just throw out a number.
You're starting with me?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give myself maybe like a 4 or 5.
4, okay.
3.
3? 4?
3 to 4, yeah.
3 to 4?
0 to 1.
Okay.
I was gonna say around like 4.
About a 4, okay, great. I feel like I'm about a 7, 7.5, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. I have so much more to learn, but I'm about a 7. So I want to just give you guys a little brief history of me. Again, my name is David Radney. I go by D-Rad, so feel free to call me D-Rad. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I lived in Los Angeles for about 10 years. And then I moved to Austin, Houston, Dallas, and of course now New Jersey. So when I was living in Dallas, I got my real estate license, and that's when I moved to Houston. So I lived in Houston and got my license and then moved to Dallas. And so I went from living in a town where I had known people for about 6 years to moving to Dallas where I knew absolutely no one. And I'm getting into real estate and I'm hearing everybody say, well, just call your sphere of influence, call people that you know, and they'll list their home with you. And I'm like, I don't know anybody. So that was a struggle for me. And I was fortunate enough to meet this guy named Jeff, who became my mentor. And he talked to me about working with sellers and going after listings. And he told me that I really should be going after FSBOs. And I'm like, well, what's a FSBO? For sale by owners is what FSBOs are. I think you guys know that. But what he said to me that really resonated was FSBO stands for fastest source of business opportunity. He said, I don't want you like door knocking and going around talking to random people when you have people with their hands raised that are telling you they have a home to sell. Why wouldn't you start with those people? So it made sense to me. And I knew that he was right. You all heard the saying, logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. Have you guys heard that before? So logically, I knew I needed to make these calls. But just to be direct and honest with you, I was scared. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. So I would look at for sale by owners on Zillow. I would get in my car. I would take a picture of the sign or sometimes write down the phone number. I never called. And then I drive past the house again, and guess what? Somebody else's sign was in front. And I did that forever. I was watching videos, I was going to trainings on prospecting and calling for sale by owners, but I never took action because I let fear get a hold of me. You guys know double dutching, and you stand on the side like you're about to jump in. That was me for about 6 months. I'm like, I know I need to get on the phone and call these people. I was too afraid to do it. And I had a coach, I hired a coach, and he said something to me that completely changed my mindset. We talked a lot about my family life. My wife, Michelle's in pharmaceuticals and works her ass off. Sun up to sundown, girls go to bed, she's still on the computer. And my coach said to me, he was like, David, if I looked at your schedule, it looks like you're a really busy real estate agent. And excuse my language, but he said, today you didn't do shit to earn any money today. And look at Michelle working so hard. What is your dinner conversation going to look like tonight if you have to sit down with Michelle and tell her you didn't do one thing to actually bring income into your house? When I tell you, I don't cry very often, I don't get emotional very often, but that hit me. And that's that whole thing. Logic makes you think. Logically, I knew I needed to make those calls. But until he said that and that emotion hit me, that's the thing that made me say, okay, enough's enough. I need to pick this phone up. So the next day I get to the office, I pick the phone up. This is my hand. Like, you guys know what that's like, right? I'm shaking, I'm sweating, and I'm stumbling over my words and people are hanging up on me. I'm like, but you know what? I have to do it. So I called again. I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I'm hanging up on people because I was just that bad. And yet if you do that every day and you're getting 1% better every day, after 2 or 3 weeks, you kind of find your groove. And the thing that I realized, most for sale by owners have the same objections, right? Bring me a buyer. I'm not paying the commission. If I list it, I know someone. Most expireds have the same objections. We're going to relist with the same agent. We're taking it off the market, right? We're going to wait until the spring, whatever it is. It's the same thing over and over again. So I figured that out. I'm like, you know what? All I need to do is figure out how to respond to what they're saying to me. So I started doing research. How do I respond when they say they're not paying commission? How do I respond when they say their sister's a real estate agent? And I started writing down different ways to overcome their objections. And over time, I got stronger and stronger and stronger at handling their objections. And I was able to create opportunities to go out there and get listings. And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, the power of scripts, why we use scripts. And I know when I say the word scripts, a lot of you guys shut down. Like, I don't like using scripts. I sound robotic, right? I sound very canned, and you don't want to use scripts. The importance of what I do in the program I have called Push is I teach you how to learn the scripts and internalize them so it sounds natural, because it's a very scripted business. You have to understand when you're talking to a seller, they're learning their scripts every day because they're getting calls from 20, 30, 40, and 50 real estate agents. So they're learning what to say to you to get you off the phone. So it's a scripting game. Either they're going to outscript you and hang up, or you're going to outscript them and get the appointment. And you have to learn how to go through the scripts and internalize them so you can have those conversations. Does that make sense? All right, so what I'm going to do right now is just go over the importance of scripts and why we use scripts. You guys have your booklet. If you can open it up to the first page. I'm going to go through a few things, and I promise not to spend a lot of time in this booklet, because for me, the value in this class that we're going to do today is a conversation that we're going to have. So I just want to let you guys know my expectation of today is that I'm not the only person talking. I need you guys to be part of the conversation, and I'm going to pull you into the conversation. Before I get started, though, I have one housekeeping rule that I want to share with you guys. If your phone rings during this time that I'm in here speaking, even you guys on Zoom, there is a $20 fee that goes to KW Cares, right? And it has to be paid today. Now, why do I have that rule? I learned this very early on. I went to an expired appointment. I was new, I didn't know anything about Dallas. I door knocked and expired. The lady invited me back that evening to meet with her and her husband. And she told me, just so you know, I'm also interviewing this other agent. This guy was the top agent in Dallas. So my mindset completely shifted to, well, there's no way I'm going to get it over him. I'm new, he sells all these homes. However, I'm going because I have the appointment. So I went and I did the best I knew how to do. And I just knew I lost the appointment. She calls me the next morning and said, we're going with you. You know why they went with me?
His phone rang?
His phone rang during the listing presentation, and he answered the phone during the listing presentation, right? So after she told me that and we talked about it, I said, you know what? I'm not even taking my phone into a listing presentation anymore unless I actually am expecting an important phone call. Because here's the thing, and it's happened to me before, and I'm sure it's happened to you guys. If you're in the middle of a conversation and your phone rings and you get frazzled, you're trying to turn it off, it throws your game off. And it's hard to recover from that. So I like to practice in class how we should show up in the real world. You don't want your phone ringing during a live listing presentation, so don't have it ringing in class. I know that was a long way to explain my rule, but I felt like you guys needed to know that. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first page, why do we use scripts, right? The first thing is scripts give us confidence to do our job. We know exactly what we need to say. Real estate is a highly scripted business. Everything we say from the time we meet a seller up until closing, it's a script, and it gives us confidence to do our job. The next one, it allows us to stay focused and in the present moment. What do I mean by that? If we know what to say, we can actually spend time focusing on the conversation. The problem is most of us don't know our scripts. So when the seller's talking to us, instead of listening, we're thinking, well, how do I respond to that? What do I say next? And I promise you, you're missing a lot of key things that will allow you to land that listing, because you're thinking of what to say and you should know what to say. So scripts allow you to be in the present. Next, it allows you to focus on what's important to the seller. What do I mean by that? I truly believe that if you guys want to get business, it's not about who you work for and how many houses you sold and your list price to sales price ratio. It's about what's important to the seller. And if you learn how to make it about them, because people don't care what you know until they know you care about them. So what I teach during my push program is to find out what's important to the seller. Why are you selling this house? Most agents will just tell me they're selling the house because they're moving to California. I'm like, is that it? Is that all you know? And that's all most agents know. I believe you need to know why they're selling their house, why that's important to them, what that move's going to do for them once they sell the house, and then ultimately, once they're in that new place, how they're going to feel. That gets the emotion piece. Remember, logic makes people think, emotion makes people act. So we need to dig deep enough to really understand the emotional reason for them selling their home. And then lastly, we need to know the timeline. So scripts allow you to dig deep and ask questions so you can find out what's important to the seller. Next, scripts allow you to be consistent in what you say. I say the same thing to a $200,000 seller that I do to a $2 million seller. I have the same conversation. I'm very consistent in what I say and what I do. And that's the importance of scripts. And then lastly, scripts allow you to remain in control because you're asking the questions. Have you guys heard the saying, telling is repelling? Like we should be asking questions. The way I like to serve this up, and let me paint this picture for you. If you were talking to a seller and they say, hey, I want to wait until the spring to sell my house. A lot of us will just start talking and start telling, and we'll say, well, you don't want to wait until the spring because a lot of houses come on the market in the spring. And if a lot of houses hit the market, then there's going to be a lot of inventory. You're not going to get as much money if you sell your house in the spring. And we just start talking and talking and talking. What the seller hears is our opinion. They don't know if that's true. They think that's our opinion. What we need to learn how to do is ask questions. Well, Mr. Seller, what's important about waiting until the spring? If we wait until the spring, like you're thinking about doing, and everybody else waits until the spring, and you have a flood of inventory, what do you think will happen to your price, Mr. Seller? And when he says, or she says, well, if there's a lot of inventory, then I might get more, they've said it now. So now it's a fact. And you can say, you're right, you'll get less money. So shouldn't we do the right thing and sell it now when there's less inventory? So when they are able to discover it through asking questions, it's a fact. When you say it, it may or may not work, but they always think it's your opinion. So that's why we want to get very strong at asking questions. And that's a big part of scripts as well. Next page. I want you guys to tell me really quickly. Tell me 3 objections that you get or that you are afraid that you'll get if you're in front of the seller. Yeah. You guys know this already, just speak, don't be afraid to speak out. Commission, all right. Your commission, you want 6, they only want to pay 5. Tell me another one.
I can do it myself.
Do it yourself? David, you're new, right?
Yeah,
Are you concerned someone might say you're new?
yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah.
All right. You being young, right? You're too young. I don't know if I want to put my $700,000 house in your hand because of your age or how long you've been doing real estate. Those are some common ones. Anything else?
Mine's will be language barrier.
Language barrier?
For myself.
Okay, I've heard that as well. So the language barrier being the issue. Okay. And a lot of times that's more in our head than anything else. However, I can appreciate it and I definitely understand that. So we're going to talk about a few of those objections. I just wanted to read the room and get a feel for what you think may come up as an objection. We'll cover those after I finish going through this page here. So an objection is really a question that hasn't been answered. Would you guys agree with that? So a lot of times you can stop yourself from getting objections by making sure you cover things that are important to the seller ahead of time, and then there's no longer an objection. So just keep that in mind. And I know there's a spelling error in here, and I apologize about that. Most objections are caused by us. That's what it should say, and I know it's not in there correctly. The seller is a lot of times responding to our energy and our lack of confidence. One thing I always tell agents, who has a mirror in front of their desk, like where they make their phone calls? Anybody have a mirror set up? Yeah. Yeah, so you've seen people with it. What's the importance of having a mirror in front of you?
Yeah.
See yourself, but see yourself doing what? Smiling. It comes across in your voice when you're on the phone, so you always want to be smiling, right? However, one thing I learned is that you need to see what your face looks like when somebody gives you an objection, because a lot of times it's like not very confident, or it's like, ooh, I don't know what to say. You don't see it, but the seller sees that. And when they see your energy go down and they see your lack of confidence, that creates objections. That's when they say, so how many houses have you sold? Like, how long have you been doing this? You create the objections just by how you show up and how they see you in your energy. And that's the importance of practicing the scripts. You get comfortable with them. You're used to hearing these objections over and over again. So when someone says something about your commission, you smile. I teach the agents and push. The minute you get an objection, the first thing you do is smile. Oh, my commission. Okay, so what I hear you saying is you're concerned about my commission. Other than commission, is there any other reason you wouldn't hire me? Okay, well then let me talk to you about why my commission is what it is, because I know what your issue is not really commission, it's what you put in your pocket. Is that the case? And they're gonna say yes. And then you start talking about list price versus sales price ratio. You guys know what that is? I know some people in here are new. What you list the house for versus what it sells for. And so once you know how to overcome that commission objection, you can have great conversations with the seller and say, when I sell houses, I sell them for 101% of list price. The other person that you're interviewing, I've done research on them, they sell it at 98% of list price. So by hiring me, I'm going to get you 3% more. Your house is $800,000. What's that mean for you? It means I'm going to put $24,000 more in your pocket. So what are we really talking about here? The 1% in commission, or what I put in your pocket? What's more important to you? And what are they going to say? Exactly, what I put in my pocket. So we need to learn how to have those conversations, but it starts off with us smiling, acknowledging it, overcoming the objection, right? And then going back to the close. Put that mirror up on your desk. Make sure you're smiling. Look at your face when you get an objection. I promise you, you won't like how your initial response is, but when you work on it, you get stronger and stronger. All right, so my next point, I'm going to wrap this up because the next part is my favorite part of the class. Are you handling the objections they give you? A lot of times we aren't handling the objections and we just try to ignore it and skip past it. I have to tell you, you're creating a bigger problem if you do that. You need to be able to handle that objection head on. And so again, this goes back to the importance of practicing. So let's talk about it. I want to talk about scripts. I want to have a conversation with you guys about scripts starting right now. And the biggest one that I feel like we need to talk about, I love to talk about you being new, love to talk about you being young. I love to talk about commission. Commission's near and dear to my heart. So I'm actually going to start with commission. Who in here takes listings? Anybody currently? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. I can't see the people on here. Who gets 6% of their listings? A couple people, right? Most agents go after 5%, right? So if you're sitting down with the seller and they say to you, hey, I love you, I love everything you had to say, but I just talked to another agent, they're willing to do it at 5%. Why should I hire you? Do you know what to say? Here's what I know. Most agents would just say, well, I'll do it at 5%. You'll sign the paperwork and take a listing at 5%. We have to stop doing that. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
The way you need to look at it and the way I look at it is when I lower my commission, I'm taking food out of my daughter's mouths, right? We have to learn how to fight for our commission. So most people, most sellers are told, see if your agent will reduce their commission. And so when they ask you, will you reduce your commission? And you say, yes, shame on you. The right answer to that is no. Any other questions? Because let me ask you, do you really want to reduce your commission?
No.
No. So that's the script. That's the objection. No. Any other questions? Half the time that'll do it because they were just told to see if he'll negotiate. And when you say no, any other questions, it's a little awkward. And so you have to know to be quiet and let them process that. And they will say, okay, and sign the paperwork half the time, right? The other half though, they'll say, well, this person's willing to do it at 5% and you're charging 6%. That's a big deal for me. And I need that extra money to buy this next house that we're buying. If you'll do it at 5%, I'll list with you. So before I give some answers on how to handle that, I love to hear how you guys think you should handle that. Someone telling you, you're at 6, this other person's at 5. I'll list with you if you'll do it for 5. What should we say when someone brings that up to us?
Have to cut services.
You have to cut services, right? And we see that all the time. I see people who list property and I swear they took pictures with their cell phone, and you're seeing kids and babies and clothes everywhere, right? Sometimes you have to cut services, right? What else? Because you can say, well, I can do it for less. Where would you like me to cut?
Right.
What would you like me to cut out of my marketing plan so I can bring my commission down? That's one thing you could say. We're not going to say that though, but you could say that. What's another thing? Social media? All right, I'm gonna back this up a little bit. I have a question for you guys. You guys know how commission works? Can you explain to a seller how commission works?
You get the percentage of, whatever the house is being sold for, you get, let's say it's 6%.
Mhm.
And then you have to break your 30, well, here it's 70/30. You have to get
They're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I hear you. So let me do something real quick. I'm telling you, for the life of me, I'm gonna have you guys talking by the time this class is over. You guys are being too quiet for me. So we're gonna just talking. When I go on the listing appointment, I bring $6 bills with me. Because a lot of sellers don't understand how commission works. And so for them, you got to break it down and explain that this is my way to do it. It may not work for you, but I just wanted to explain something to you that really has helped me defend my commission. So I tell the seller, I appreciate somebody's willing to do it for 5%. Let me explain to you how commission actually works when you list a property with me. So my commission is 6%. Right off the bat, I'm going to make sure that buyer agents are bringing their buyers in. So I'm giving that agent 3%. When they bring a buyer for your home, they get paid 3%. So that's immediately off the table, which leaves me with 3%, right? Let me show you who I have to pay. First, I have to pay Keller Williams. They get their percentage, right? Favorite uncle, Uncle Sam needs to get paid, right? They get their percentage, right? So then that leaves me with this percentage. Out of this, what do I need to do with this? Well, I have to do all the marketing we talked about. Open houses, flyers, brochures, Facebook ads, etc. Right? I do all the marketing. That takes up about 0.5%. This is what I'm left with. This is mortgage, car note, taking care of my kids, etc. Right? So when you say to cut the commission, where can I really cut it? Right? I'm going to take care of my family. So the only way I can cut it is take away the exposure and the marketing that I do to get your home sold. And I can't do that because if I'm not exposing it and doing my job correctly, it's going to affect what we can sell your home for. So what concerns me about this other agent who's taking 5%, well, they still have to pay their broker, right? They still have to pay Uncle Sam. They still have to pay the other agent. So when it comes down to their money, they're going to take care of their family. So where do you think they're actually cutting? And what would the answer be?
That makes sense.
Makes sense, right? They're cutting on marketing, they're cutting somewhere else. And so learning how to have that type of conversation with the seller and explain to them where the money goes is important, right? So I love doing this demonstration with the dollars.
But David, can't
Yes.
we take away from the buyer side?
Oh, such a great question, Deb. And yes, we can. If we're going to negotiate anywhere, and this is one thing I recommend you guys have, is have a standard in your business.
I'm just giving you an objection.
I love it. No matter what, I'm a 3% agent. You're not getting my money no matter what, right? That's what I'm getting paid. Can we lower what we pay out to another agent? Yes, we can. I have a standard in my office where we always pay out 2.5. So we could lower this by 0.5% and pay out 2.5. Why wouldn't we want to? Is the question. Second,
Motivate buyer agents.
absolutely. On the national average, how many homes does a buyer agent sell every year? Anybody know?
Oh, really?
2 to 3 houses a year is what the average buyer agent sells every year. So here's the question I have for you, Mrs. Seller, Mrs. Debbie. If someone's only selling 2 or 3 houses a year, and they have a buyer who's looking in your neighborhood, and there are a couple of homes that are similar, right? Pretty much apples to apples. One is paying a commission of 2.5%, the other one's paying 3%. And this person's only selling 2 or 3 houses a year. Where do you think they're gonna steer their client to go look?
But isn't that unethical?
Well, that's not the question. The question is, what do you think they're gonna do? Right? And so my job and what you really want me to do is to make sure that every person sees your house. I have to sell your house 3 times. I don't know if you're aware of that. I have to sell it to the agents first. Then I have to sell it to the buyers. And then once we're under contract, I have to meet with the appraiser and make sure that they're gonna hold up the price that we have on the house. So I have to sell it to them as well. So to make sure I can do the best job for you, we don't want to cut out what we pay the buyer's agent. We want them to be excited about what we're paying them. We want to give them a fair commission. And that's why we don't want to lower it to 3%. But even better yet, it's not even about what you're paying me a commission. What's really important to you is what you put in your pocket, correct? So let's have a conversation about how I can make you more money. So that's the next question I want to talk about with when it comes to commission. When we're going through scripts and someone says the other agent will do it for 5 and you are at 6%, what's another way we can handle that objection? And I hope you guys know you can't just have one objection handler for every objection you get, because I can't keep going to Debbie and saying, well, here's the $3 I'm paying to the buyer. And this goes, if I keep saying the same thing over and over again, they're gonna be like, get out, right? However, some people, once you explain this, they still don't want to pay the 6%. So what do you say if they still say, well, this other person is still willing to do it at 5?
List the sale.
List the sales price. Thank you. That's one thing we can talk about, how you get more for your sellers, right? We can also talk about another thing. When the seller is looking to hire a real estate agent, they're looking to hire someone that can get them the best results, right? A big part of that would be knowing how to negotiate a good price for them on the sale of their house. Do you guys agree with that?
Yep.
So do you really want to hire someone that can't negotiate their commission to negotiate the biggest asset that you own? That's the seed that we have to plant in our head. This person, Mr. Seller, you were able to out negotiate. You got them down to 5%. Do you want to hire that type of agent to actually sell your house, your most expensive asset? They've already showed you how they negotiate, haven't they? What did I just do there when I said haven't they? What is that? Because you guys all agreed me when I said it, you guys all agreed. What did I do? What is that called? Say it. I heard somebody on Zoom say it.
Tie down.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't know who that was, but great job. Go star for you. It's called a tie down. Part of learning scripts is to say things like, don't you agree? And the seller goes, yeah, I do. Right? That makes your job easier. You're making a statement and you're allowing them to agree with you. And the more you can get them to agree with you throughout the process, when it's time to say sign the paperwork, it just feels natural that they agree and they sign the paperwork. So we want to use tie downs throughout our entire conversation to get them used to saying yes to us. And the biggest thing you can do, you see how I'm nodding my head right now? When I say, don't you agree? I'm doing this. Body language, right? I'm like, follow my lead. They're like, yeah, I agree. Sure, David, yes, right? So that's what we want them to do. And I had to learn this. Like, I'll tell you a story really quickly. Just keep track of time. I was living in Dallas and I was taking my girls to Primrose and dropping them off. And I had on, hold on, let me read the room really quickly. I don't see one person in here wearing a name tag. Just saying. All these secret agents in here, you guys could be out shopping at your girl's school, you could be at the bank. Who would know you're a real estate agent? Okay, I'll give you a pass. One thing I'm gonna tell you guys right now, wear name tags everywhere, so people know who you are. So this guy walks up to me, he sees my KW name tag. Oh, you're an agent. I'm like, yeah. He was like, listen, I've had my house on the market for months and it's not selling. You think you could come take a look at it? I'm like, sure. So I went to his house, big, beautiful house. And he talked to me about his agent that had listed the property. They weren't able to sell the home. He said, my listing expires tomorrow. Can you come talk to us about what you can do? I'm like, absolutely. Biggest listing I ever had. Like it was a big listing. I go on the appointment, I meet with he and his wife, we have a great conversation. I can tell they're vibing with me and they're ready to work with me. And the wife takes over. She's like, and what's your commission? I'm like, 6%. She was like, I'm not paying 6. I'm only paying 5. And you know what I said? Sure. Let's do it at 5. And I didn't even fight. I didn't try to negotiate because back then I didn't know to do that. And I took the listing at 5. And in my head, I'm calculating, that's a lot of money. This house is like 800,000, 5%. That's great. The husband walks me out to my car when I'm leaving. And he was like, Dave, man, I gotta say, you took the 5%. I was expecting you to fight a little bit. And when he said that to me, I was like, damn it. And after that, I said, never again, right? At least I'm going to fight for it. And maybe I don't get the 6, but can I get 5.75? Can I get 5.5? Can I get 5.25? I mean, there's so much room in there, right? And so he taught me a valuable lesson that I'm never going to say yes when they ask me to do it for 5. I left so much money on the table, right? Potentially like $8 grand I left on the table just by not knowing what to say. And that taught me such a valuable lesson because in real estate, we have the potential to make money. There's no cap on what we can make. We can either go sell more houses, we can sell more expensive houses, or we can learn how to fight for our commission and keep more of our commission. So in the beginning, I was doing this 3 and 3. As my stats got better and I learned how to do it, I was taking 6, but I was keeping 3.5 and paying out 2.5. And I started making more money because I understood the power of scripts and asking questions and getting them to understand my value. Commission's only an issue in the absence of what? In the absence of value, right? So in my push program, we teach you, you start value the first phone call by going through the scripts and understanding their motivation. When you get the listing appointment, pre-qualifying that seller and really understanding what's important to them. And then showing up for a listing presentation and going through the entire presentation soup to nuts. That's where you show your value. I show up at the door, I knock on the door and I'm like, hey, we had an appointment at 11 and it's 11 o'clock, can I come in? I'm showing my value because you know what? Most of you guys are always late to your listing appointments. So when I show up and I'm on time and I show them I'm on time, it resonates with them. I'm showing my value. So, yes, go ahead.
In the beginning, like I said, I have language issues.
Mhm.
I wasn't born here, so how much effect I will get from this issue?
So I have to tell you,
Really,
There-
that's my big concern.
there's a lady in my office, and I won't say any names, there's a language barrier.
Mhm.
She gets so much business. And you know why? She shows up and she does her job. She shows up and she's not making it about her. She's not getting caught up in all that. These sellers have a problem and she understands her job is to be a problem solver. And she goes in and they see that she cares about what they're trying to accomplish and she's ready to go to work for them. And they don't care about that. They list with her. So don't get caught up in saying, I wasn't born here and English isn't my first language. That's not going to stop you from getting business. What's going to stop you from getting business is not doing the activity. Our job, you guys know what your job is as real estate agents. I used to think it was showing houses and doing open houses and going on property tours. But do you really know what your job is as a real estate agent? Your number one job.
Marketing.
Well, yes,
Lead
but that's not-
generation.
Yes, whoever said that, another gold star. Your job is lead generation. Your job is to come every day and do this and have conversations with people about real estate. That's your job. Who do you know right now that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I can talk to today? Mr. For sale by owner, how can I help you? Mr. Expired, are you still interested in selling your home? That's your job. And it really should be looked at like we have 2 jobs in real estate. In the morning from 8 until 12, your job is to get on the morning mindset call, do your script practice, get on the phone and make new phone calls, and then do your follow-up. That's your job in the morning. Your job in the afternoon is to go on appointments and negotiate offers, right? That's your job in the afternoon. Taking care of business you already have should never take precedence over creating new business. So in the morning, you're always on the phone making calls. I promise you, if you do that, that's what's going to get you the business. Your language barrier will not hold you back. What holds you back is not doing the activities because you're afraid that the language barrier will hold you back. So you have to push through that. And I know it's easy for me to say, You just have to focus on getting 1% better every day. And the more calls you make and the more people you talk to, you realize this is okay. Like, people want to work with me. But I get where you're coming from. When I moved to New Jersey, I moved to a town called Wyckoff. I was one of 3 Black families in the entire town. I didn't know anything about New Jersey, and my whole mindset was nobody would ever work with me here, right? I don't look like anybody here. I don't know anything about New Jersey. They're not going to give me a shot. And I was in my head for the longest time about that. Until I made up my mind, I live here. I should be able to work where I live. And so I'm going to get out there and let people get to know me and start making calls. And guess what? They were super receptive once I got out of my head. So, yeah, I promise you. I promise you. All right, so I'm going to get away from the commission piece. A lot of you guys are new, and you're concerned that if you make a phone call, what you're going to get is, how long have you been selling real estate? You're afraid they're going to say that, and your answer is, well, I just started. Let me say this to you to give you some confidence. The only reason they're going to ask you that question is if you don't know your scripts and you're, and they're like, how long have you been doing this? And that's the importance of practicing. When you practice enough and you know your scripts and you have internalized them, where you're listening and you're engaging the seller and you're asking questions, that never comes up. How long have you been doing this, right? Right? It's not going to come up. So you're creating that own objection in your head. It barely comes up.
But if it does.
Feels like forever, right?
Feels like that.
It does, right? All the stuff we learn that, in our company and all the training we do, a week feels like forever. So it feels like forever. And then you just keep moving on. That's typically all you have to say. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There are going to be some people who say, this person has sold 18 houses. What have you done? There are going to be people who hold you to it, and you're going to have to answer that question about how new you are to real estate. So how do you handle that? I know how to handle it. I want to hear, what would you say, David, if someone said, I'm interested in working with you, but you just started a month ago and you're too new?
They have to know we started a month ago.
Maybe you don't. They don't have to know that.
I'm lying.
You don't
I'm
even,
lying.
you don't even have to lie, and I'll explain to you why. But look, what would you guys say if someone, pushed back on the fact that you were newer? How would you handle that?
Well, like what I know, but they don't, is that clearly I'm not in the office by myself. I don't own Keller Williams. I'm not engaged by myself. We have hundreds of seasoned agents who have clients that are looking to buy, looking to
Yep.
sell. So I don't tell them it's like I think I've been working here for 2 days. It's more like it's a we thing. Like I have people in here that will help me if I can't find you like a client that's gonna buy your house. Someone definitely will that I work with.
That's right. That's exactly it. You're not alone. You're not a single agent. You are part of this office, this crew. You have all these people who support you. So that's one way you can handle it, right? But what if they say, like, listen, I can appreciate that, but I want to go with someone who's actually been doing this for a number of years. I just don't want to take a chance on you because you're new. How do you handle that?
Emotion like that?
There's more time to focus on them.
Like,
Right? I don't have 10 listings. You'd be my only person. So all my energy is devoted to you. And like I already said, I'm part of a huge office. If I have any questions, I have 1,800 people I can go to, right? Bunch of seasoned agents, right? That's one thing you could say. But could we also bring them into the conversation? I mean, how many of us remember like graduating and looking for a job and looking for an opportunity, and all we kept being told was, you don't have any experience? Have we all had that experience before? I know I have. What if we just said to the seller, like, hey, do you remember like when you graduated, you were looking for a job and no one would give you a shot because you didn't have experience, and how frustrating that was? And
is that called emotions?
well, because you're making them think about, it's emotional, right? You're making them remember something and how they felt, right? So yeah.
I was thinking to say like, yes, I'm new and I care for your, I care for you and I appreciate your work with me. And those are like not good words
No,
in the beginning,
those are
like
good
being
words.
honest.
No, I think those are good words. And I just have to say, I have no problem understanding anything you just said to me right now. So just so you know, when you talk about the language barrier, we're talking, it's all good. So,
Okay, thank you.
but that's the whole thing, is taking it back to emotions. It's, you remember how frustrating it was when you knew you could knock it out the park on that job. You just needed someone to hire you.
What?
But still, we have that though. We just need the opportunity. And you say to the seller, just like you wanted someone to give you that opportunity, I'm asking you to give me an opportunity. I'm gonna go out there and make it happen for you. And I have the support of everyone in my office. So I'm not alone. I have a team of people that are behind me, that are supporting me and want to see me succeed. So will you give me the same shot you wanted those people to give you? Guess what? They will. Because they remember what that felt like. And they also see that you're hungry and you want the opportunity. You're fighting for it. You have to fight for it. So don't look at it like I've only been doing this for a month or two. We were all doing it for a month or two at some point in time. And now we're doing more business. So we all had to cut our teeth on some listing. It's just a matter of getting the seller to understand that you're willing to go to work for them. And they're more willing to take a chance on you when they understand that you really care about them, which is why what I talk about with getting deep and understanding their motivation, when you spend time making it more about them, they know you care. And so then when it's time for you guys to work together, they're willing to work with you and give you a shot because they like the relationship that you built, right? Relationships, let me just say something about this really quick. The letter R, relationship, we need to be making contacts every day, right? And the purpose of us doing lead gen and making contacts is to eventually get a contract for a listing, right? See what I just did there? That was another time. Okay, so the difference between the word contact and the word contract is what? What letter?
R.
R. We have to focus on building the relationship. It's the R factor in real estate that really gets you the business. A lot of us are too quick. You pick up the phone and you talk to someone that's all about, I can get you more money, hire me, I'm the best, my company's the best, we're #1 in the MLS, you have to go with us. And we're pushing too hard and we're making it too salesy instead of spending some time building the relationship and understanding the motivation of the seller. I promise you, if you work on building the relationship, you may not get the listing appointment the first day, but the second week when you call and check in, when the for sale by owner's having an open house and you pop in and say, how are things going? And you have a conversation with them, and you sit in the living room for half an hour and you're talking with them and you're slowly building that relationship up. When these sellers get to a point where they're ready to list their house, you will have earned a seat at the table because you went from contact and building a relationship to a situation where you can actually get the contract signed. I hope you guys understand that. The biggest piece that we need to understand is when we do a good job of building that relationship and they actually invite us down for a seat at the table, the minute we sit down and open our mouths, we either win or we lose the listing based on what we say. And so the other script is really important, is learning the listing presentation. If someone says, okay, come meet with us, what do you do then? You don't want to wait until you have that opportunity to start learning the listing presentation. You want to get ready, right? Right now. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
How long it should take, the presentation, like short, like 5 to 10 minutes? How,
So
like?
listing presentation in my mind should take anywhere between 5 minutes and about 40 minutes. 5 minutes is quick, right?
How'd you go from range 5 to 40?
So, okay, so let me explain that to you. If I've done my job well, and I've understood your motivation, I send you out my pre-listing packet, you know who I am, what I do to sell your home, you've read on Keller Williams and you feel very confident in Keller Williams, I'm gonna show up at your house and we're gonna sit at the table and I'm gonna say, I have a few questions for you. Do you really need to sell your house? Yes. Are you willing to price it right, or do you want it to sell on the market for a long period of time? Well, no, we don't, we want to sell it. And lastly, do you want me to handle the sale for you? And if they say yes, it's over in 5 minutes. And then we're going to talk about price and get the paperwork signed. Now, does that happen very often? No, it's probably happened to me 2 or 3 times. It can happen though. And you have to know when they say, yes, I want to work with you, shut up and get the paperwork signed. Because some of us keep talking and you kind of talk yourself out of the opportunity. They're like, I don't know if I want to work with them. So we have to learn how to STFU and be quiet or wait. Why am I talking? Right? We talk too much and we talk ourselves out of opportunities all the time. So That's why it can be 5 minutes, because if they say, yes, I want to work with you, well, then all we need to do now is decide on price and get the paperwork signed. You go right into your comps and you're done, right? And then if you're going through the full-blown listing presentation, it should take 40 minutes. Guess what it normally takes for most agents?
2 hours.
2 hours. You know why? Because they're in there trying to make a new friend. I think Drake said it best, no new friends. Nobody wants a new friend. They want to get their home sold. They're not interested in really getting to know you. Now, it will happen throughout the process of listing and selling their house, but what they're interested in is getting their property sold. And if you follow a listing presentation, a canned listing presentation, it's about 40 minutes from start to finish, right? And I'm teaching a class right now, my push class, which stands for Prospect Until Success Happens. We're teaching the listing presentation, and we go through it, and it generally takes about 40 minutes. The longest piece of a listing presentation is if you don't take control. When you walk in that house and you say, hey, I want you to take a quick tour, and the seller says, no, I'll show you. The seller shows you the house, it takes half an hour. If you just do a quick walkthrough, it takes 5 minutes. So you have to learn how to take control in the beginning if you want to keep your presentation short. All right, so let me get off that. That's a whole nother class. So as I've been talking, I want to give you guys an opportunity to tell me some more objections that you are concerned that you'll get. I feel like you guys are loosening up a little bit. So either on Zoom or in the classroom, if you guys have a objection that you get that you have a hard time overcoming, I guess I should be looking at that camera. If you have an objection you're getting that you have a hard time overcoming, or you're here in this room and you have one, just throw it out to me. I want to hear it. Don't be shy.
What if like you make a call and they go and they say, I'm not looking to sell, and then you ask, oh, you have a neighbor or a friend, family, whatever the case would be, and they just say, no, we don't have anybody. Like, how would you get, like, for instance, one guy, he was like an elder gentleman, I was on the phone with him, he was like, send me a letter with your information, like your business, one day he changes his mind,
Yeah.
he'll give me a call. But like, I feel like I've had opportunities like that, but I just didn't know what to say to get to that, because he was nice enough to be like, you know what, send me a card.
Yeah.
How would I like talk to somebody where I could make that happen? If like they don't know anybody and they're not looking to sell right now, but I still want them one day, if they'd be like, okay, I do want to sell. What was that kid's name? Dave, what was his name?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say is, okay, that's great. Let me ask you, when you do sell this home though, where do you plan on going to? Oh, we're going to eventually retire down in Florida. Oh, Florida, why is that important to you? And I would start digging and to find a little bit more about Florida and why they were looking to move there, because you may uncover a reason and talk them through some motivation that may get them to start selling the house now versus waiting a year or 2 years. So I would dig a little deeper into where they would go if they sold the home. And I'm taking notes this whole time we're talking. I'm writing all this information down. That person goes to my database. Our job is every person we talk to should go into our database so that we can follow up with them. And you should have notes in there on what you talked about. Hey, Mr. Jones, it's David. We talked a couple months ago and you told me eventually you're moving down to Florida. Have your plans changed, or are you still holding on for a couple more years? And you follow up with them and have these conversations with them. And then you ask questions like, do you have a go-to real estate agent? If you had a question about real estate, do you have someone you would go to? Most people don't. And you would say, I'd like to earn the right to be that person. So I'm going to stay in touch. Would that be okay if I stay in touch with you? And then your job is to stay in touch. We should be talking to everybody in our database at least 4 times a year, just touching base. Phone calls, texts, emails, letters, pop-bys, and stopping by and seeing them. So you stay in touch, and that's how you stay top of mind. They should never be thinking, what was that guy's name? They should know because you've come by enough, and your magnet and your business card and your letters and your postcards are sitting there on their table. So it's not their job to remember who you are. It's your job to make sure they remember who you are, because you're constantly showing up and calling and checking in. That's the way I look at it. What else? And let me say this. And I had to learn this the hard way too. If you really want to learn scripts, if you really want to take command of your business, you gotta speak up. You can't sit here and be quiet. So I'm going to sit here and be quiet until somebody speaks. I want to hear some objections. I'm good with silence too, by the way.
Again, I have questions.
Good.
I had, someone was, I was talking about, I was working for my real estate
Yes.
license, so they said, we're looking for, they told me the location, we're
Mhm.
looking for a house.
Yeah.
I said, okay, wait for me, I will get my license.
Right.
Before they go to other people or agents, that, how can I make them, like, even I'm right now new, so what should I tell them?
So I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking me. So
Yeah,
you're saying if
I couldn't
someone
say,
reached
but-
out to you and they say, hey, we're looking for an opportunity, we want to do some work in real estate,
Right.
how do you get them to sign with you and work with you?
Mhm.
So I will tell you, number one,
Or even they see our name tag, they will start talking, how they will get them to sign paper, how we start. to-
so there are a couple of things you
I
need
know,
to
silly
do.
question, but.
No, it's not a-
everything's
it's not a
silly in
silly
my mind.
question.
Everything's silly in my mind right
It's
now.
not a silly question. You're asking, how do you take someone that you're meeting on the street and bring them into the office and get them to become a client?
Right,
And so first thing I would say to you is that we all have to have standards in our business. And to me, that's a whole part of the script, right? I will not put a buyer in my car unless I've met with them and I understand what they're looking for, they're pre-qualified, and they've signed the buyer rep agreement with me, right? Right? That's the standard I have in my business. Just like with a listing, I'm not gonna go meet with the seller unless they're motivated and coachable and they've answered all my pre-qualification questions and all decision makers are gonna be there. If that's not the case, we're not meeting. So I have standards in my business. So what I would say to you is you need to have those same type of standards where when you meet someone, you meet with them here in the office, Starbucks, their house, it doesn't matter where. And just like there's a listing presentation, there is a buyer presentation that you go through where you find out what their needs are. And this is a script, right? What you're asking me, it's a script. It's giving you all the questions you need to go through with that buyer so that you understand that they're a ready, willing, and able buyer, right? And then you have your lenders you're going to recommend them to get pre-approved. And once they're pre-approved and you know what they're looking for, then you can go out and start looking at home. So it's all about having a script to follow.
same thing like you said. in the
Yeah,
beginning.
same thing. It's all a script. And so that's why we need to practice it, because you don't want to have to think about what should I say. You should be role playing what that conversation sounds like. So when someone says, I'm interested in working with you, you know what to say to take control of that situation. It's just a script.
So what should we do if a buyer is not comfortable signing the buyer's agreement?
Great question, because a lot of times people don't want to sign the buyer rep agreement.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, I would tell you this, your standard should be if they're not willing to sign, you don't work with them. Because you're going to spend all this time driving them around looking at properties, and they're going to end up going to an open house and buying directly from the listing agent.
Right.
What I would say, and this is a script as well, listen, I understand that you don't feel comfortable being locked in for, 6 months to work with me, right? I'm not asking you to get married right now, right? Just a date, right? Just a date. So we're going to go out this weekend. And so what I'm going to do is draw up the buyer rep agreement just for this weekend, or just for these 3 homes that we're going to see. Because in order for me to show you these homes, I need to have the sign and put it off on your broker. My broker requires that I have a buyer rep agreement signed for the homes that we're going to go out and see. So let's do that. We're going to go see 3 homes today. I'm going to write the agreement for today and for these 3 homes. And after we work together today, you can decide whether or not we extend that relationship. You and I both can decide whether you want to work with me or if I still want to work with you. And either one's okay. Is that fair? And most people would say, okay. So that's the way I handle it. Understand that it can be the buyer rep agreement for 1 house. It can be for 1 day. It could be for 1 city. It could be for 1 county. It's whatever you write in there. So you find out what they would be comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with 6 months, what would you be comfortable with? Maybe it's 2 weeks, right? But no matter what, do not put them in your car if they are not willing to sign the buyer rep agreement. We have a bad name. They think we're glorified door openers because most of us just hop in our car and go open doors. Stop doing that. Because what you do is you end up spending a lot of time driving people around who can't afford to buy a house or end up ghosting you and leaving you and just going to a listing agent because you didn't require that they go through your process, your scripted process of coming in, signing the paperwork, getting the pre-approval. So having that standard in your business is extremely important. Yeah. Great questions, by the way. See, when you guys ask great questions, I can get great information and see how this works. Can I get some more questions?
Her question was related to my question.
That's good.
That was good.
That's why there are no silly questions, because people are thinking
Okay.
things and they're not speaking those, so it's never a silly question. What else do we have? I have a question. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I have a neighbor,
Mhm.
she's been my neighbor for 15 years. and,
Yes.
They mentioned to me that they're looking to move closer to her daughters, I believe not far from Oakland.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I said, great, I'll come by and we can chat. And they're my neighbors, we're friendly, but not that friendly, we don't have that really close relationship. However, her husband, who walks the dog all the time, mentioned that he definitely wants me to come go get the house and give them an idea of what that would look like for them. So it's been now maybe a month and a half that I'll say, oh, how's this coming week? What time works for you? Or let me know. And she keeps kind of like pushing, not giving me a date.
Mhm.
So how do I kind of get in there, basically?
I think that's a great question. My answer to you would be, get on the phone with her, and instead of working towards booking an appointment, make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to hang up that phone until you understand the motivation. So you want to move closer to your daughter. Why is that important? Get that answer. And when she tells you that, so what would that do for you if you guys were closer? And then how would you feel once that's there? Once you understand that emotional piece, are there grandkids involved?
Yeah.
Right? It's probably the grandkids, right? So once she tells you, well, I want to be able to spend time with my grandkids and I don't want to have to drive across town, I want to be right there so I can support my daughter, whatever she tells you, then that's when you book the appointment. And you can say, hey, it's been another week. You've missed out on spending that quality time with your grandkids. Why don't we go ahead and set up an appointment so I can get you moved to Oakland so you don't miss out on quality time, because you can't get that time back, can you? What did I just do there? But she's going to agree with me when I say can you. She's going to say, yeah, you're right. So let's do the right thing and book the appointment. And then you'll get the appointment.
Right.
We don't spend enough time understanding motivation,
Focusing on their goals.
focusing on their goals. Logic makes people think, emotion makes them act. When you can talk about the time she's losing with the grandkids because they have yet to make the appointment with you, then they'll book the appointment. But when you don't know enough about the motivation, you can't push those buttons. People are running towards pleasure or away from pain. She's running towards pleasure, right? Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So every day she's not there, she's losing time. That's what you need to focus on. All right. What else?
Dave, I appreciate everything you're saying, but my neighbor down the street's a real estate agent, so if I'm listening, I feel like I gotta listen to her.
I can definitely appreciate that. Let me ask you, are you listing with her solely because she's a neighbor down the street, or are you listing because they can get the job done to sell your home quickly for top dollar?
Yeah, I mean, I know I think she's full-time, so, I see her signs here and there, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's my neighbor, so I just feel like create like an issue,
I can definitely appreciate that, Pete. Let me ask you, what's more important though, the relationship or the money you make when you sell this house?
I mean, the relationship's important, but at the end of the day, the money's, I gotta get the most money.
Of course, and at the end of the day, once you move, she's not a neighbor anymore, is she?
Yes, that's good.
So, and I'll tell you, Pete, I'm not here to force you into making a bad decision, right? I want to just sit down with you. I want to go over what I do for my clients and how I help them get top dollar. And you'll have all the information to make the best decision for you and your family. If it's listing with your neighbor after you meet with me, I'll respect that. But if you're like most sellers that I meet with, you'll see why I'm the right agent to hire to get your home so quickly and get you top dollar. So why don't we meet today at 6 or tomorrow at 4?
All right, yeah, tomorrow forwards.
Cool. That's what I would say. Is that right though?
Yeah.
Right? Or, hey, this is my friend. This is my cousin. I have to work with them. We get that all the time.
All for them referral.
So I love the way you think, right? So first thing I would say is, well, why haven't you listed with them yet? And a lot of times it's family and they feel obligated, they really don't want to list with them, which is why they haven't and why they're even talking to you. They want you to say something to save them where they don't have to list with that family member. We just need to know what to say, right? So I can appreciate that you have someone in your family or a great friend who's in real estate, and I know you want to help them and support them. It can be tough working with friends and family though, can it? Like,
Small dosage,
right?
one at a time.
What do you do if something's going wrong and they're not doing their job? Are you going to feel comfortable firing them if they're not delivering for you? It's going to be awkward. It wouldn't be awkward firing me though, right? So I have a proposition for you. You know, how would you feel about things if you could list with a top agent like me? You know, I can get the job done. And I was able to pay your cousin a referral fee. So they would get paid for doing nothing because you want to respect them and the relationship you have with them. But at the same time, you want to hire the best agent that can do the right job for you. How would that work if I could do that for you?
Where West Side.
Right? So it's just being able to have that type of conversation. And notice, I didn't say pay them a 25% referral fee. I said pay them a referral fee. I might give them 10%, here you go. I'm not committing that I'm giving them 25%. I'm committing that I will give them a referral fee. And half the time, the family members are like, I didn't want to work with them anyhow. Right? So I think you're helping everybody out by having that conversation. It should be about who is the best person for the job versus the relationship that we have. You just have to give them a way to handle that, right? I like that. What else?
A lot of these buyers want to go just with listed agents.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the loyalty sometimes is not there, but that goes back to your buyer's agreement.
That goes back to your buyer's agreement, right?
But does that hold any water, or is that just?
It depends on the person you're dealing with. It's an integrity thing, right? The buyers that you're working with, it can hold water if you're doing things correctly, but it can be tough to hold up too. The problem is most agents don't get the buyer rep agreement signed. I can't tell you how many agents don't get it signed because they're afraid that the buyer's going to walk away if you ask them to sign that piece of paper. I say if that's the case, let them walk away because they're going to end up their time anyhow, right? That's having the standard in your business. But you bring up something that comes up a lot. For sell by owners, for instance, they're going to say, listen, I'm not listing my house, just bring me a buyer. If you have a buyer, I'll pay you 2%. Have you guys heard that?
3%.
3%, right? Or whatever it is, I'll pay you this if you bring me a buyer. Why is that not a good idea for sell by owner? They think it is, but why is it not a good idea for them?
We're paying negotiate against them.
Don't start me, Megan. But it's true though, right? So essentially what they're doing is they're telling real estate agents, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a commission. You really don't want me to bring you a buyer because when I call and talk to you as a first sell by owner, I'm following a script. And the script is all about asking questions. And some of my questions are, why did you decide to sell it yourself? Right? How'd you come up with this list price of $750? Would you take less than $750? Oh yeah, we take about $700. And where are you moving to? And why is that important? And how soon do you have to be there? I'm getting all this information from the for sale by owner, right? And then they turn around and say, well, if you have a buyer, I'll pay you 3%. I know how to out negotiate you. I know what your timeline is. I know what your motivation is. I know how much less you're willing to take. You don't want me negotiating against you. Who's going to protect you? Because if I'm on the other side, my fiduciary duty is to my buyer to get them the best deal, the best terms, and the best price. Who's looking out for you as a seller? Because I do this every day. How many homes do you sell a week? Like I've sold one house in the past 10 years. Well, that's why you need representation. You need someone looking out for you. And if I could show you a way where I can list this property for you, and even after paying my commission, you make top dollar and you make more than you could make selling it on your own, would you meet with me and talk to me about that? Once you tell them how they've already set themselves up, they will meet with you. They realize that they have to get out of their own way. And most for sale by owners do that. They talk too much. They give you too much information. They tell you everything, where they're moving, how soon they have to be there. They give you all this information. So you can just push that right back on them and say, you're telling me how to negotiate with you. You need some help. Let me help you. On the flip side, let me say this to all of you guys. real estate agents, you guys talk too much. I can call a listing agent and say, why is your person selling? And they'll tell me everything. Will they take less? And they'll tell me everything. We gotta learn how to zip it. We talk too much. It's nobody's business why your seller's moving. Why are they moving? Because they need to move. That's it. Stop talking so much. Just felt like I needed to say that. Stop preaching. But right? I can't believe how much information they give me. I'm like, what are you doing?
Absolutely. I love presenting them offer because I can get so much information from that listing agent most of the time.
Yep. Yep.
My obligations to the buyer.
Your obligations to the buyer. Yeah. So after you work with a listing agent that gives you all that information, and after you close, you need to call them up and say, why don't you come work at Keller? We have some great training. You got some things you need to learn. So anyhow, I only plan to do this class for an hour and we're at 12. What I really wanted to say to you guys is, as a coach, my job and the way I look at things is to be the coach that I needed when I started in real estate. Real estate is all about what you say. It's about the scripts. You may not want to hear that. Maybe scripts isn't the right word. Maybe I should say it's all about the dialogue that you have with people. If you want to grow your business, it's about asking the right questions and knowing how to respond to their questions and their objections if you want to have success. People are willing to give you the opportunity. People are on the phone with you and not hanging up. They're interested. You just need to say the right thing to close the deal and get the appointment. And so you need to be practicing scripts at a high level. And if you guys would allow me, I have my website up here, davidradneypush.com. If you go there, there's a button that says join my mighty network. I want you to join that and I'll send you the scripts. And I do a lot of morning calls where we go over scripts and we talk about mindset and we talk about objection handling. We talk about working with sellers. And it's a conversation that you hear every day. And what you'll find is when you're part of those types of conversations every day, you'll be in front of a seller and they'll say something and you start talking, you're like, where'd that come from? And it's just because you're part of the conversation with other agents that are talking about scripts and objection handling, you start learning what to say based on the people you surround yourself with. And so I have a call that I do every morning. It's called the Morning Mindset Call. You guys are welcome to join that. We talk about the mindset you need to have, right? I want it more than I fear it is one thing we've been talking about recently. And for all of you guys that are new and all of you guys who are kind of sitting on the sidelines and not playing full out, you really need to work on having goals and a vision board set up that means something to you. Because like we were talking, logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. You have to want those things more than you fear picking up the phone, more than you fear having these conversations. You have to be willing to put the work in. And what I will promise you is that people are willing to give you the opportunity. They actually want to work with you. However, you have to make the calls. They're not going to call you. You have to do the follow-up. They're not going to follow up with you. And follow-up is a big piece in this game. You don't typically get most of your business on the first call. It happens on the 7th, the 8th, the 12th call. So you really have to have a solid follow-up system. And you have to tell people, hey, today's Monday, I'm going to call you on Thursday. On Thursday, you better call. And on Thursday, if they didn't answer, you say, hey, I told you on Monday, I'm calling you on Thursday. It's Thursday. You're not home. I will follow up with you on Friday. And on Friday, you better call and follow up. That's what this is all about. It's a lead generation follow-up game and knowing what to say when you get people on the phone. So I'd love to help you with that. That's something that I am really good at, and I'm very passionate because I understand if I help enough people get what they want, I'm going to get what I want. And I make it about you guys first. So I would love an opportunity to work with you guys and talk with you guys and help you get more comfortable finding your voice around real estate and with scripts. So with that being said, I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm gonna slowly close it, but I'm here if you have questions. If there's something, you guys on Zoom have been pretty quiet. So let me see what's on Zoom.
It's been on mute the whole time. No.
All right. So you guys on Zoom. So I have Sean, Mariah, Carol, Eric, Stephanie, Vito. You guys have any questions? You can unmute. I'll take a minute to answer your questions. I feel like I have been ignoring you guys. So if there are any questions, you can unmute and just speak. Hey, Vanessa, what's up? I guess. should I
Hey,
let
so what if they ask how many, well, not how many houses in a particular town, but have you sold in this town? And that seems to be of importance to them and you haven't.
All right, so have you sold any homes in this town? Right? Our office has, that's a good response, but let me just say something to you guys. That comes up a lot. Like, we're looking for an expert, we want someone who sold in this town before. Do you guys know the percentage of people who live in the town? And Vanessa, this is for you, you can answer this as well. How many people live in a particular town and actually buy another house in that town? You guys know the percentage? 15, you're good, it's about 15%. And so Vanessa, what I would say to that seller is only about 15% of buyers actually buy in the same town. So you're not really looking for someone who's a local expert. You're looking for someone who understands how to find the other 85% of the buyers that are looking to buy in this town. Wouldn't you agree that if I could bring in 100% of the buyers that are looking in this town, I can get your home sold quicker and get it sold for more money?
Thank you.
That. And so it's about not just the 15% that are looking, it's about where are the buyers coming from that are looking for homes like this? The days of people going to like a local office and walking in saying, hey, I want to buy in this town, show me your inventory. That's not how it works. People start their search on their phone. So we need to know how to market and expose properties so that we can find buyers for our house. And Vanessa, the other thing I would say to that, who knows what reverse prospecting is? 1, 2. You guys know what reverse prospecting is? Oh, I've got to look here. Do you guys know what reverse prospecting is? I keep forgetting where the camera is. So one thing I talk about in class is reverse prospecting. You put a listing on the MLS. You tell the seller to get the listing that I prospect every day to find a buyer for your home. You should be prospecting every day to find a buyer for their home. Most people don't know how to do that. You can actually go into the MLS and do something called reverse prospecting, where you can see all the searches that agents have put in for their buyers, where your home matches their criteria. And you can call that agent and say, hey, I just put a new house on the market in Wyckoff, and I see you have 2 people that you're working with that are interested in this type of home. My home comes up in their search. I have a broker open on Friday and an open house on Sunday. Why don't you come take a look at it and then bring your buyers to come in on Sunday? Most agents don't even know that that property came up on their client search. So you're doing their job for them. You're calling them saying, hey, Vanessa, you have 2 people you're working with. This house I just listed is right for them. Why don't you come take a look? That's how we do that. That's how we find buyers for our listings.
How do you do that search?
It's called a reverse prospecting. So what MLS are you on?
Garden.
In New Jersey?
New Jersey.
So New Jersey,
Jersey.
it's easy. Actually, so here's what I'll do. I have a video that walks you through how to do reverse prospecting. So I'll post that video on the Mighty Network so you guys can see it. It walks you through how to do a reverse prospecting search. And it's super easy. And it shows everybody in the MLS that saved a search where your house fits the criteria. And your job is to call the agent and say, I got the right house. Guys, give me 1 second. This special guest honor, I gotta say something. All right. All right. Sorry about that. Hopefully that answers your question, Vanessa. Does it?
It does. Thank you so much. I have a follow-up if there's time for one more.
I'll give you all the time you need, Vanessa.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say it's a luxury listing. And the objection is, you haven't done luxury listings yet. So what do you say to that?
So can I tell you a quick story? And I promise to make it quick.
Please do.
I was making phone calls and I used a company called Vulcan 7, where they supply you with for sale by owner and they supply your data. And I just make calls. I don't care who it's for. And this guy picks up the phone and we start talking. And I had never sold anything over $1 million, right? We start talking and I'm just going through my script, finding motivation, asking questions. And we get to the end and I looked at the price and it was a $3-point-something million house in Franklin Lakes. And I got nervous. Like, I'll be honest with you, I've never sold anything that big. And Vanessa, what he said to me after we started talking is, have you sold any homes like this in Franklin Lakes? And guess what my answer was? I haven't, but I work with a lot of agents that have. Can I bring someone that's an expert and specializes in luxury houses in Franklin Lakes with me to meet with you? He said, no problem. I called this agent named Don Braithwaite. We went on the appointment together and we got the listing. And even after I split the listing with her, I still walked away with over 25 grand. It's worth splitting. I'd rather have some of something than none of nothing. So I say the answer to that is know agents that are in the luxury market in your area, build relationships with them. And when you have an opportunity, grab them along, have them work with you at any price point. It could be 500,000 or 2 million. It doesn't matter the price point. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't have the experience, always partner up with someone that you can bring in. The caveat to that would be, you're not bringing them in to take over. You're bringing them in so that you can learn. And so you have to get them to agree up front that they're going to cover everything with you, soup to nuts, how they run comps, how they fill out the paperwork, how they do the marketing. You want to be part of the negotiations. If you're splitting your commission, it should be that you're paying for training and they should be training you. So that's the only thing I would say to that, Vanessa.
I appreciate that. I do that. I just wanted to see if there was anything you would add to that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I appreciate the question. Anybody else on?
David, I got a question.
Hey, Scott, what's up?
How much different was it selling that $3.5 million house?
So what's so interesting, there's really no difference. The only difference I would say is that we needed to do some staging at a higher level. And instead of coming in and maybe moving a couple of couches around, we had to bring in some additional pieces. That was the only difference. So same. Whether I had a listing at 300,000 or $1 million, I came in, I did professional photos. I had a stager come in and do a consultation with them. I did all the same work. And you get paid so much more. And that's why I tell people, if you want to make more money in real estate, maybe you go from selling $300,000 houses and you bump it up to 700. You're doing the same work, right? You should be doing the same work. It's a script. You're being consistent in what you say and very consistent in what you do, no matter the price point of the property. Now, for a more expensive property, you might want to do a fancy walkthrough, a virtual walkthrough. You might want to spend a couple of extra dollars, right? Part of that, though, is not necessarily to sell the house. It's for you. One thing we need to be doing as real estate agents is creating content every day. Content on who we are and what we do and how we market and sell property. We can't be secret agents, right? And everything on your Instagram page can't be open house this weekend, or I just got a new listing, or I just sold a house. People don't necessarily want to see that. People want to see that you're here in this class, and then you're doing role play with some people, and that you're out previewing homes, and that you're going to open houses. They want to see the oil tank coming out of the ground. They want to see content. They want you documenting your day. So you spend extra money to market a luxury listing. Part of that is you marketing yourself as well. And I'll tell you, every photographer that came to shop for me when I had a listing, I always had them take a picture of me. I'd have on, something nicer than what I have on right now. And I'd take a little professional picture every time I had a new listing. Like, I'm paying you $200, take a picture, right? And they would do it for you. And it's just more content. We can't be secret agents. We have to be what Gary Vaynerchuk calls the digital mayor of our town in the areas that we want to work in, which means we need to be putting content out there and letting people know who we are. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I have several Instagram accounts and TikToks and YouTube. I put stuff out every day. And when I tell you, people see that and they reach out to me. When I'm selling, when I'm doing coaching, I have a photography business, not real estate photography, but landscape and nature. They reach out to me based on what they see online. So don't be a secret agent. Nobody in here is wearing name tags. Put your name tags on. Get on your social media and start posting now, because you're telling sellers that you use social media to actually sell houses, and they go look at your social media and you have no posts. Don't wait until you get a listing to start posting. You can post anybody's open house on your Instagram. You can post any property on your Instagram. You can post all the things that you do every day on your social media so that you have some social proof when people go look at you. Because I look at you guys. When I meet an agent, I go to your Instagram and I'm like, are you an agent? I see nothing real estate related. Everything you document your day.
David.
Yes.
Carol,
What was it? What was your website where we can get the scripts?
DavidRadneyPush.com. It should be in the chat. And if you go there, you want to join, it says join the Mighty Networks. You join the Mighty Network and I'm gonna send the scripts out probably later today or tomorrow morning,
Thank you.
along with the video on how to do reverse prospecting. If you're not doing it, you gotta start doing it.
Someone wants to know your Instagram handle.
Oh, my Instagram is David Radney Push. And my TikTok, and if you guys are not on TikTok, get on TikTok. It's not about singing, it's not about dance, and that's not what it's about. I promise you, I don't sing or dance. I get more interaction on TikTok than I do from Instagram and Facebook combined. And my Instagram is just D Radney. That's it. All right, so I'm done. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting me be here. Hopefully you'll have me back. I'd love to come back.
Say thank you David, for coming here, and I think we can all say we'd love to have you back. I think there's a ton of value, and I know Fred and you guys can maybe connect on having to come back in. That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you guys.
Like to follow Bill.
I used to all the time. Got it.